Welcome to Xero Hero, a short video blog from HBA Encompass aimed to make your Xero journey easier. Please note that all the slides today have been created from existing Xero training videos. Xero has rapidly changed in the past few years, so sometimes the pictures are using old screenshots or overseas versions. Where possible, each session is followed up by a live demonstration. If you have any queries regarding any content delivered today, feel free to contact me via email, victoria@hbaencompass.com.au or phone 0754 44 7094. Welcome to reporting.
We all love reports. Accountants love reports. Business owners probably hate reports. But at the end of the day, the reports are there for you to use to manage your business. So the collaboration between accountants and businesses by having Xero is enormous. So we can pull reports and publish them and keep them for you to look at. You can pull them up and have a look at them. We can have a look at them. We can talk on the phone and talk through it. It really solves a lot of the time wasting as far as people having to come in here or us coming out to clients, and being able to get things at a time that suits you as well. So under the reports and all reports sections, anyone who's got the ability to read reports or to create reports, these reports will all show up here. So anything that is starred is a favourite. You can see these ones are favourite, and you can see there's a favourites here and they show at the bottom. So you can either go all reports and favourites, or reports and favourites, or reports, all reports, and then click on it from here. Exactly the same process. The trick is probably a bit like your watch list, that you don't put all your reports there as a favourite, otherwise it drives you insane. So let's have a quick look at the reports that are here and just an overview. So Xero has a really powerful budgeting ability. So you can actually pull the budget summary and the budget variance reports. Your executive summary is something that your accountant usually creates with a weekly or a quarterly management report, and it shows money in, money out, the average debtor days, the average creditor days, and just a bit more of a report on some of the ratios within your business to show how you're going. Expenses by contact and income by contact. So you can actually do a search. If you say, I want to know how much Bill Smith has cost me, or I've paid to Bill Smith for the year, I can do it by contact. That only does it by one contact at a time, which is why smart lists are so powerful. But there is the ability there to do an income by contact as well. The income statement is your good old profit and loss. Inventory, sales by item, so you can look at how many of your sales, how much white golf balls or something like that if you have items. The sales tax report is not an Australian report. This must not be the Australian version, but there are, in Australia it actually says activity statement there. On the position reports, your age payables and age receivables, well, it's a list there, and it can show you a nice graph of how much you're owed and how old it is. Also your balance sheet, which is your snapshot of what your business has got in it at a particular time. Your depreciation schedule, if you want to use that one. The fixed asset reconciliation and movement in equity is something really that only accountants look at. It's a pretty boring report, to be honest. The detail reports are if you want to go looking and driving down into things. So the account summary will give you the account of the transactions per an account per month. The account transactions is a detailed of each account. The customer invoice report, I have no idea, I've never looked at. The detailed account transactions is like your account transactions. General ledger shows money in, money out into each account and a total for whatever period that you do. Your journal report will show you any journals that have been done, and then the tracking summary and the supplier invoice report probably aren't too useful to most people. And the trial balance is similar to your general ledger, but it actually gives you your balance sheet balances as well. The cash report gives you your bank recs, your bank summaries, And a cash summary is like an income statement, but only on a cash basis. So only what money has actually come in and out of your bank account. So for instance, if I invoice someone on the 30th of the month and they pay on the 15th, if you use an accrual system, it goes in when you do the invoice. So the sales go into the first month, but a cash system says, okay, I got paid the second month, and it'll only show up when it actually gets paid, and also what expenses have physically gone out of your bank account, not when you got the invoice. And there's also some foreign currency reports if you use that. And below that, if you use payroll, are your payroll accounts. Now, you can only get payroll reports if you're a payroll administrator. Some people, depending on their settings, and we've spoken about the settings for users in earlier weeks, that some people can only read only to reports. Some people can drill down and get the information. The ones who have read only can only access these ones here that are published, which means that someone has actually set them up there to be published, to be looked at. So for instance, what you might do, and this is a little bit sexist, but what you might do is say, you know what, hubby wants to know how we're going, but I really don't want him mucking up my bookwork and playing in the file, so we give him read-only access so he can then go into the reports and see what's in there and drill down, but he can't change anything. Okay, so quite handy. When you actually go into a report, at the top there's all types of criteria here. It comes up with the standard, and this is an income statement, your profit and loss statement. So as a standard, it comes up with whichever month you're in and the previous 3 months and a total year to date. Now, you may not want that. For instance, if I pull that report today, it'll say August, July, June, May, but I don't want May and June in that because it's last year. And there's absolutely no use putting August because there's only 5 days into the month or 6 days into the month. So what you can do there is you go into the compare periods or show date range and you change the dates. So instead of looking from January there, I can make it December. And I can choose how many comparators I've got. I can choose whether I have the year to date on it. So it's very powerful in what you can do. And you can also, within the actual sales, if you click on it here, it'll show a graph of what's happened. If you want to see on a month-by-month basis what's gone through. And it's actually then, if you want to drill down further, so you can see here February's got sales of 2,000, but if you want to see who it's to, you can click down and drill down to anything. So exactly the same as everything, and I know I sound like a broken record, but anything that's blue, you can click on. This is an awesome rule of thumb. Okay, so you can see here that we've actually drilled down to the sales and then down to the actual received money transaction if you want to go down that far. You can either export reports to Excel, PDF or Google Docs, and that's just a matter of clicking on the export button. If you have the ability, you can publish reports, and generally advisors are the only people who can publish reports. But what it means is if we do a regular management report or annual financials, we can do them and they stand as is forever. And if you change any figures in the Xero, it doesn't change that report. That's what it was at that date, at that time. So very useful when we're talking about business activity statements. And I think we have actually mentioned this one in the past about when you finished your BAS, you publish it, because then what you've lodged, you know what the transactions are through there. And if the ATO wants to know, we just print it out. We either export it to Excel or PDF. They prefer PDF because it can't be tampered with, and just give it to them straight away. So anything that comes out in Excel, you can save as a CSV or play with to your heart's content as any Excel spreadsheet you can. Google Docs is just the Google version of Excel instead of using Microsoft. Okay. And if you want to go back to them, as I mentioned before, they're in that Publish tab, just at the top there. You can also save it as draft. So if you want to save it and come back to it or do something, you can save it as draft, and it will show up as draft reports in here. So for instance, sometimes if we're having different people in our office prepare the BAS, they'll save it as a draft that the senior accountant may look over it and go, yes, that's fine, and then we'll publish it, which means that it's there for posterity. The good thing is that you don't need to print it, which means that you're using less paper and less paper to store, and you know that it's always there. It is possible to delete published reports, but it's a bit of a mission to get to be able to do that. In the reports, we talked about going into the all reports and changing things. And I'll just do a profit and loss here for you. And we talked about the different things that you can have, and it's a matter of having a play. So you can compare how many periods you want. You can make it a total or a year to date that's on there. You can support by account name or account code. You can filter by regions if you have tracking. You can change the currency. You can change the date ranges there. So there's a lot of different things that you can play around with. And these are the old style reports. Under the new reports, which we touched on very, very briefly, let's have a look at a profit and loss. It's a bit of a slower process. If you go to report settings, we compare with we want cash, and we want the region is all. So it does the same thing, it's just a different way of doing it. And you can see the actual font and the way that it's set out's a different type of report. Personally, I think these ones are a bit easier to read. My name's Victoria Berry. I'm one of the directors of HBA Encompass. So if you need to contact me, my email address is victoria@hbaencompass.com.au, or of course our phone number is 0754 44 7094. Thanks for listening.